Hello, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ruby, this is Ruby Red. This is finally my 2025 book bracket. I should have practiced saying that. Anyway, I have done this book bracket for the last couple of years. It's a fun, non-scientific way for me to find out what my favorite book of the year is. So I've made a template. If you want to use the template, I can send it to you, DM me, I don't know. I've already shared it around a little bit, so I think everybody who wants it has already asked for it. Because this is coming a little bit late, I try to do this way closer to the end of the year, the beginning of the year, whatever. We're here now, and I've been so eager to do this because I want to know what my favorite book of the year is. So the book bracket is I'm gonna pick my favorite book from every month of the year, and then they're gonna have to fight to see who is the winner. It's gonna be painful. I have a sneaking suspicion about one of the books that will be in the top 3, but I genuinely do not know who else is gonna be there. But so I feel like the one that hasn't left my mind is probably going to end up being my favorite. Like, that just makes sense, but I'm excited to see who else is going to show up. So we're going to open up the bracket. I mean, I have it open on my laptop. I'm going to open up my 2025 reading spreadsheet and just be filtering it by month. So I'm only looking at 1 month at a time. And we're going to see. Okay, we are going to start with January. So let's look at my January reads. There's 4 of them. And there is 1 5-star, and that's going on. That one is going on the bracket. That is Bright Young Women. Bright Young Women was one of my first reads last year. It might have even been the first read. I can tell you right now, yes, it was. And I read it for Friends Faves last year, which I've already started working on for this year, and I'm really excited. So I love getting to find a favorite from a friend's favorite. Okay, February. 4 more books in February. There's a 5-star, and that's Fool's Errand. But I read all 3 books in that the Tawny Man trilogy. Fool's Errand is the first one. And I'm not sure. I'm not gonna allow myself to put more than one from the series on there. And I think I'm gonna want to put Fool's Fate on there. I'm gonna put Fool's Errand on there, actually. I do have a 4-star in February that was very good, but I think I spent a long time sitting here in silence thinking about that series and like which one of them was my favorite. And I do think overall it's a 5-star series, but I think the first book might be my favorite of the 3 of them. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. Let's get into March, please. 5 books in March. Oh no. Okay. And 3 5-stars. Oopsie. Okay. This is tougher, but not impossible. So one of them was Emma, which is a reread. So I'm not counting that. Another one was A Little Life, which is no. And the third one is Northwoods by Daniel Mason. This is the one that I have been thinking about and recommending widely, and just like wanting to reread, honestly, and so excited for his next release. So March is going to be Northwoods. Easy. Okay, what's after that? April. 6 books in April. We're getting somewhere. 2 5-stars. See, okay, this was the next. Golden Fool was one of the 5-stars. But I also rated Terrestrial History 5 stars, which was a kind of a short sci-fi book by Joe Mungo Reed, and I really loved the way that book was. So for April, I'm gonna say Terrestrial History. Okay, this is getting, I'm remembering I read some really good books last year. Okay, but like not as many. When I was putting together my list of like favorite books of 2025 for my friends who I do Friends Faves with, like I was struggling. I was like, what are my faves? But now, just going month by month, it's feeling easy so far. Okay, for May, we have 4 books that I read in May, and one of them was a 5-star, and that's The Artist and the Feast by Lucy Steeds. I think when this was published in the UK, it's just called The Artist. Loved. Phenomenal. So good. The Artist and the Feast for May. Okay. 15 books in June. You know, it was Wonderthon. Things happened. Only one 5-star though. And let me just make sure that's correct. Okay, no. The Safe Keep by Yael van der Woden. This was a book that was buzzy because of some literary prizes that it was up for if you're in that space. That's why it was on my radar and I really loved it. So I also think reading that like around when I was reading The Artist and the Feast and also a little bit like Northwoods, like those all like together just feel like very, very good. Okay, July. I feel like this isn't as painful as it has been. Maybe I'm getting better at this. Or maybe because it's mid-January, I have like a little more distance. Well, obviously I have a lot of distance from July. Anyway, only one 5-star in July. Oh no. 2 4-stars. So the 5-star was Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. And then the 4-star, South to America by Imani Perry, and then Head Cases by John McMahon. That is just like so not a favorite. I mean, I liked both of those books, but I don't feel that strongly about them. And like I did love Fool's Fate. Really friggin' ripped me apart. So I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna do Fool's Fate for July because it feels honest. And let's look at February again. This is unprecedented, but yeah, okay. February, you know what? I'm gonna leave them. I'm gonna have two books from that series on here because truly it was that, okay? That's just what we're doing. Fool's Errand and Fool's Fate. Sorry, those were the good books. So now we have to do August. 5 books were read in August. No 5-stars, but 3 4-stars. That was House of Mirth, Why We Sleep, and The Virgin Suicides. And these are good books. I really liked The Virgin Suicides. I think like the way that it was written was pretty interesting, and I liked Jeffrey's writing in general. And I thought that the perspective, like the way that he decided to tell this story, I think, you know, modern classic to me. I feel like he really did something in there. I really liked it, but it wasn't a 5-star. Okay, Why We Sleep. I'm hesitating to say Virgin Suicides because Why We Sleep also I really enjoyed, and I learned a lot. It felt important to me. It felt like it's something that I still think a lot about the things that I learned reading that book. I'm gonna say Why We Sleep. Let's put a nonfiction on here. August, Why We Sleep. Some of these matchups are gonna be unfair, but that's how it goes. We're picking the favorite. Okay, September, oh boy. I finished 6 books in September. 2 of them are 5-stars. One of them was Learned by Heart by Emma Donoghue. That I have never heard anyone talk about. I just picked it up on a whim at a bookstore, and then I think I read it for TBR Spin, actually. Anyway, I really liked it. I gave 5 stars, obviously. And then Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wang. It's going to be Blood Over Brighthaven. I thought that book was phenomenal. And not only did I love it, but I loved talking about it with my friends. I read it for Bailey's Book Club Shelf This, and what a good pick. Whose pick was that? Probably Danielle. Good stuff. And so now we have 2 books from Shelf This on here. One of them I picked, but still. Go Shelf This. Getting in the faves. Okay. Okay, here's the thing. I didn't finish a single book in October. I knew that and I kind of forgot about it. So we're going to skip October and we're going to do something that I've done in the past, maybe for a different October, which is randomly throw in one of my other 5-stars. Like from the months where there's more than one 5-star, I'm just going to randomly pick one of the ones I haven't picked and put that in for October. So November, ooh, okay. 2 4-stars and a 5-star, and then a 3-star. We don't have to talk about that. Robin. The 5-star was Jade Legacy, and I'm putting that on because I've had Jade City, I think, be in my top 3. Was it last year or the year before? So I'm definitely throwing Jade Legacy on because I'm so glad I finally read it, first of all. but also one of the most like one of the best series, first of all, and such a good conclusion to the series, of a third installment to the story that really puts the legacy in Jade Legacy, and just, oh, it was so good. Okay, it was so good. You guys, if you haven't read those, you're really missing out. Okay, December, I read a lot. 7 books, 2 5 stars, but an easy winner. The 5 stars I have here are Brigands and Bread Knives. That just feels like it can't be true. Like, that feels like, no way was that 5 stars. I don't know, it feels wrong. Whatever, it doesn't matter, because I'm picking Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr, which I read for 12 More TBRs of Friendship. So good. Martine recommended that to me, and they were onto something with that, because that was so good. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars left. I know I said I was gonna randomly pick one, but like one of them's a reread, one of them's Golden Fool. I'm not putting the whole trilogy, the whole Tawny Man trilogy onto this board. One of them's A Little Life, Learned by Heart, Brigands and Bread Knives. I guess I'm putting A Little Life on here for October. I didn't talk that much about that book. It was definitely one of the best books that I read this year. Like, it does belong on this board, but I do not recommend it. I don't recommend it. I know, like, some of my friends are planning to read it. I don't think they should do that, genuinely. Some of them more than others, but it's going on here because it was so good. But like, also, why? Anyway, complicated feelings. Now it's time for the hard part. We're just gonna go down one side and then down the other. So first we have to look at Bright Young Women and Fool's Fate. Sorry, I'm looking ahead. I'm not looking ahead. I'm thinking about Bright Young Women and Fool's Fate. I can't unsee what I just saw, which is that the next matchup is going to be Why We Sleep versus Fool's Errand, and so I know Fool's Errand is going to win that. Sorry. I'm going to say Bright Young Women over Fool's Fate, just so that I don't have the first and final book in the series going head to head. So sorry, it's Bright Young Women. The next matchup, Fool's Errand versus Why We Sleep, it's Fool's Errand. Then, oh my god, this is madness. I didn't realize this when I was like typing in my little answers. Northwoods versus Blood Over Brighthaven. The two shelf this books, but also this is like one of the books. It's Northwoods. I'm sorry, it's Northwoods. I loved Blood Over Brighthaven, and I think if it had been matched up against like almost any other book on this grid, it would have made it to the next round, but it cannot beat Northwoods for me. Oh man, that's really rough. Okay, let's circle around to the other side on the bottom. The Safe Keep versus Cloud Cuckoo Land. Oh boy. I don't want to do this anymore. I just decided I don't want to finish this. This is too hard. I just looked at all of these and each of them feels impossible. Absolutely impossible. Okay. The Safe Keep, Cloud Cuckoo Land. Cloud Cuckoo Land. We have to just be firm. And like, a thought that I just was having was like, which one of these do I want to read again? Like, would I want to go back into? And it is Cloud Cuckoo Land. The Safe Keep was terrific though. Okay. But Cloud Cuckoo Land was better. All right. Then The Artist and the Feast versus Jade Legacy. Okay. The Artist and the Feast, because I stand by what I said. Jade Legacy truly is, I mean, the Greenbone Saga, which Jade Legacy is the final book in that series, I think that's the best series, like, ever. Probably. Even when we're talking about Robin Hobb, who I stan, but like, it's just so much. Whereas like, to just write 3 perfect books and then be done, like Fond du Lis, wow. But The Artist and the Feast is a book that I also want to reread, and one that I just like, it just excites me more that it was so good, because I knew Jade Legacy was going to be good. I can't. We're sticking with it. The Artist and the Feast. Now we have Terrestrial History versus A Little Life. And I'm gonna pick Terrestrial History, just again because of how complicated my feelings are about A Little Life. So now we have our top 6 and we have to pick our top 3, and it's going to be hard. Bright Young Women versus Fool's Errand. It's gonna be Fool's Errand. That whole series, ouch, but good stuff. Okay, Northwoods versus Cloud Cuckoo Land. Okay, Cloud Cuckoo Land actually is another one of the few books, maybe this is a lie, it feels like an appropriate challenge because it's sort of similarly like a multifaceted narrative and really juicy writing, but Northwoods was so good. Good try, Cloud Cuckoo Land. Good try. But Northwoods really, like, I want to reread it. I want to live there. I want to read it over and over. I wish it was like, I want him to write 10 more of those. Okay. Terrestrial History versus The Artist and the Feast. Terrestrial History was a science fiction sort of about like humanity and our, oh God, there was some really hard to read parts in that. This feels like actually one of the hardest ones. Okay, I just went and read my reviews on Goodreads for both of those, which luckily I had written because I don't always write a review, and it didn't help. I feel like I would more widely recommend The Artist and the Feast just because I think Terrestrial History had, like, there's just some space stuff, and like eco-fiction is not everyone's cup of tea to read about like the end of the world like that. But it is my cup of tea. I'm saying Terrestrial History. Such a random pick. Like, I picked that arc, like I requested that arc kind of like out of nowhere. I hadn't heard anything about it, and I still haven't heard anything about it. We have our top 3. Fool's Errand, the first book in a high fantasy trilogy, in an enormous saga. Northwoods, a kind of like a very literary historical fiction with multiple different sort of narrative styles and giving the same feeling of a multi-generational family saga but relating only to the earth. Like, that just was so good to me. For me, it was excellent. And Terrestrial History, a sort of eco-fiction sci-fi about humanity trying to survive on a destroyed planet. Once again, I feel like these really very well encompass my reading taste. Like, these all feel like they're connected to very important parts of my reading. I feel like Northwoods and Terrestrial History have like quite a bit of crossover for me in terms of things I like, but still like having a sci-fi and then like more historical, like very me. Not unfortunately, it's extremely fortunate that I was right all along. My favorite book from 2025 was Northwoods by Daniel Mason. Nice try, everybody else, but that just like stuck with me. Such a good read. So, ta-da! Thank you so much for sitting through this agonizing process with me once again. I want to say I had so much fun doing this. I don't know if that's true. I had some fun and some strife, and I'll definitely be doing it again next year or this year because I think it's just a really fun way to reflect on the year that we had. We being me and my reading spreadsheet. So that is a wrap on 2025. What a year. Read some real bangers, hoping to read so many more in 2026. Thanks for watching. See you next time.